Dave Repson, Gerry Donato, Howard Griffith in Bloomington, Indiana, as we just watched the Indiana Hoosiers go through their paces under first-year head coach Tom Allen, one of 3 first-year head coaches in the Big Ten. Guys, let's run through each of those. I'm interested in kind of what your takes are on the challenges ahead for each one of them. And let's start with Tom Allen.
Tom Allen, I think his challenge is make sure he knows what's going on offensively. He continues what I would consider the 7th year of a program, meaning Kevin Wilson did a good job building it. Now Tom gets, I think, 3 years to put it really on solid ground. He's going to coordinate the defense. I think he's got to just make sure he still has a pulse on the offense, as veteran as Mike DeBoer is.
I think if he can get the rest of the other 2 phases with the special team, the offense, up to the level of excitement that the defense was last year, he is doing exactly what he wants to do and needs to do here. And I think he'll be able to do it. Watching him in practice, looks like the guys are really buying in, because defensively he was able to touch all the right buttons to get those guys to play well. Now the challenge is, can he do it in the other rooms as well?
And typical of a program like Indiana, he's got to build up the depth at the line of scrimmage, especially now at the offensive line. He's not real comfortable with the depth yet, and he mentioned recruiting, and that's going to take a couple years.
And offensive line has been a real area of strength in recent years as they've won 6 games in back-to-back seasons, made back-to-back bowl games. The challenge now is, can you get a winning record? They haven't had a winning record in conference play in 15 years, which is the longest streak in all of FBS. That is not the case at Minnesota, where P.J. Fleck takes over a program, guys, that won 9 games a year ago, which is something they've only done a couple of times since 1905. So you're taking over a program that is really clicking on all cylinders. What's the challenge for Fleck as he tries to maintain it?
I think it's the buy-in from the players, and particularly those senior leaders that are going to be there, seniors and juniors. Sometimes when you have a coaching change at that point, everyone's not necessarily on board. But if he can get those guys to buy in, because those young players are going to play. I think when you look at a place like Minnesota now, when you get a new coach, the young guys that are coming in see an opportunity there. So I think getting some of those veteran guys to be able to really buy into everything that he wants to do is going to be big, because as you mentioned, they won 9 games last year. This isn't a rebuilding job. He's got to maintain it.
Yeah, I think the buy-in is important. I think they could possibly take a step back, and I think that's okay. Rever, you gave us the stat how hard it is to win 9 games at Minnesota. I think the buy-in is number 1, to maintain as close as he can to that 9 number. But recruiting in the future gives him a chance, in my opinion, to have the most talented team in the West Division. There's no real dynamic recruiter in the West Division. I think PJ has that type of personality, and if he can get through this year, buy-in, hold serve, then I think he can build a program where he'll compete for Indianapolis.
Yeah, no doubt. In the immediate term, I think there's some work to do. Both lines of scrimmage. Quarterback is a question mark. So the issue is, can you build it where 9 wins becomes a little more regular occurrence than twice since 1905?
And speaking of building, new athletic center.
The Athletes Village, that'll help a ton. And again, we see construction everywhere. We hear construction going on right here. Purdue's got a new football center coming online here this year. We're going to get a chance to go see that. Jeff Brohm, the new head coach. Look, this is a rebuilding job. I mean, they won 9 games in the last 4 years. What do you see as the challenges for Brohm in year 1?
It's certainly rebuilding, but it's back to the future, right? Last very successful coach was Joe Tiller. He had Brock Spack as his defensive coordinator. And Joe, although he was a defensive coach when he came from Wyoming, had this scheme that not many people were running. Now, Jeff Brohm is running an offense. Hopefully he'll have an edge in scheme, and he's got Nick Holt running defense, a veteran defensive coach. My question and the challenge, I think, is Joe Tiller was unique when the formula worked, meaning wide open offense, good defensive coach. It's not so unique any longer. Now a lot of teams are running the spread offense, and not that Jeff Brom's going to run a spread, but he's a scheme guy, if you will, more than anything. Does that still work in nowadays football?
And I think it will. I think it's about really putting your players in position, taking advantage of what that defense and how they're lining up to get the matchup that you're trying to do. And he's done a marvelous job at his last stop to be able to do that. So I think that's going to continue. Really building that base, building that foundation is where he has to be. They're off to a fast start. It started slow, but right now I think they're up to 2021 commits right now. which is exciting for Purdue at this particular point right now.
Yeah, you got that right. They started off real slow, and then they just took off. And another new facility at Purdue, which they desperately needed. They may have been 14 of 14 before they built this facility. So this is huge for the program.
And again, we talk about the success of Jeff Brohm, 30 wins in 3 years at Western Kentucky. It was the highest scoring offense in the country last year. So his scheme certainly worked in Conference USA. Does it translate to the Big Ten? We will find out. That'll do it for us from Bloomington. Again, be sure to follow us on social media throughout the tour.